Welcome, as usual, this is a time for the Trading Bell, and it's good to have you here tuned in now. One of the key markets that we have in this market is matters to do with real estate. And we have the RAC conference coming up, and I'll be having a conversation with the chair of the conference, who's also an advocate and partner at Triple OK Law, and that is none other than Brian Muindi. Let's get straight to the conversation to understand how do you get to participate in it. Brian, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
And have a seat. And it's good to see you once more. And this being a new year, we are looking forward to this particular conference. But I like helping our viewers understand. We're talking REITs, RAC, all this. There could be terms to them.
Yeah.
When we talk about REITs, just 101, what are all these things?
Okay. First, thank you for having me.
Yes.
If I can talk about REITs, stands for Real Estate Investment Trusts, or REITs in short. And REK is the Real Estate Association of Kenya. So what a REIT is, basically, the simple way to think about it is a sort of like a mutual fund, or a chama, if you like, because it's an unincorporated association in Kenya, an unincorporated trust that focuses specifically in investments in the real estate sector. Yeah. So from the name, because you see it's real estate investment, so it is a trust that invests in the real estate sector. Okay. That's the simple way of explaining what it is.
Excellent, I love it. And maybe for the people who could be still saying, okay, I have understood that. If I want to invest in it, before we come to the conversation, what's the status in the country? Yeah. Where do you get started?
Good question. So when it comes to REITs in Kenya, our regulations provide for both listed REITs and unlisted REITs. Yeah. So your listed REITs would be listed on the NSE stock, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, where you have two different platforms. Either it can list on the main platform. We had a REIT that was listed there, that is the Ilam Fahari REIT, or it can be on the restricted segment. And currently we have a REIT that is listed there, but it does not trade for the time being. So for the listed ones, if someone wants to invest, it is as simple as talking to their stockbroker and then saying this is the, just like you would buy shares ordinarily. Then we have another platform that the NSC provides, which is the over-the-counter platform, the USP platform, or OTC for short. For the REITs which are on the OTC platform, we have, I think, another 3 REITs which are there. Okay. Again, you speak to your stockbroker. So the OTC platform is not really a listing as such, although it is considered that way when you look at the NSE regulations. Yes. So you would then get your broker to buy the units over the platform. Okay. Typically, you would find that REITs that are listed on the OTC, you don't have as much volatility as you would with the exchange. Okay. So the OTC platform, you can think of it as a platform where you have your more sophisticated professional investors who are looking, and they know specifically this is the asset that I want to invest in, as opposed to the exchange where you have manufacturing, you have all this. So those are the 2 platforms where you can get units from.
And I know there could be a whole more conversation on all this. Thank you so much for the brief. Let's talk about, first of all, the country and what you see from your perspective now as an association before we get to what you're planning to do in the next few weeks. What is the status, if you may say, about REITs in Kenya?
So I think the association has done a fantastic job, as well as the exchange and the authority, CMA. If you look at the progress that REITs have had in Kenya, the first regulations came in about 2002. REITs was fairly a new concept in the African market. For the most part, most of the REITs that we saw previously were in the American market. South Africa was the market leader in Africa, but Kenya has made significant strides. And I would say that we are the second strongest REIT market in Africa. Over the period since the regulations came into place, you've had, every other year, you've had more and more REITs coming to market or trying to come to market. So what I see in the market is a lot more interest in what REITs are, a lot more interest in, maybe I can talk about this later, in converting everything into a REIT. There's a saying in the association that I hear a lot, which is everything is REITable. So we'll talk about
what actually expand on it. What does it mean? Everything is REITable.
So if you think about it, for the most part, if you tell someone, this is a REIT, they expect REITs to be either commercial property. For example, one of the REITs does specifically student housing, right? But you find in South Africa... Is
that like Kwetu, for example?
Correct. Yes. That is one of the REITs. So it's an income REIT, and I'll talk about the differences a bit later.
Okay.
In South Africa, there's a REIT that launched, I think, either last year or the year before, and it invests in petrol stations.
Oh.
In the US, you have REITs that invest in hospitals. So in the country, we're seeing a lot more specialized development. So you have people who do specifically warehousing, specifically healthcare or purpose-built healthcare properties. So anything can be converted into a REIT.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean that to do a REIT, you have to limit it to one particular segment.
Yeah.
For example, you have another REIT, the Alam Fahari REIT, that has malls and other investments in other real estate sectors.
You're right.
So you don't need to, but it shows you that you can either choose to specify and invest in a very specific segment of the real estate market or any other aspect of it.
You're right. You would agree with me that we are a growing population.
Yes.
There's a lot of demand in these particular sectors, and I like the diversification. It's not just about the housing and all that.
Correct.
And one of the key things that comes out, because I've listened to some of your sector members speaking and saying there's a lot to be done. We need to cross these challenges that we're facing. What are these myriad of headwinds that you guys are facing?
Yeah, so I would say, and again now I'll have to speak about, I'll wear my RAC hat here and say, as an association, what we've been doing over the years is we go to market and we find out from the promoters who want to bring REITs to market. We find out from the trustees in the market, from the REIT managers, the challenges they face. And for the most part, there are broadly two or three. One is investor knowledge. So as an association, we have tried to do a lot of outreach in terms of informing people what REITs are, the opportunities in the market. The second challenge that we have is when it comes to regulatory policies. Now, for example, we had a tax benefit, which was stamp duty. Properties which were traded into REITs or exchanged into REITs for units were previously exempt from stamp duty. Now, this exemption lapsed 31st of December 2023. And I think we were expecting, there was an expectation that it would, 2022 actually, there was an expectation that come 2023, 2024, it would be reenacted. Of course, the Finance Acts that we hoped would bring that, we all know what happened to that. So we have a few of that uncertainty where you have people who want to come to market, but they don't know, will this be put back, this particular exemption. The third is also when it comes to, so at present, the way it works is when you want to do a REIT, you go to the authority, that's the Capital Markets Authority, submit your application, your documentation, they then authorize it and they give you a certificate. You then go with that certificate to the Revenue Authority, KRA, you present the certificate, you re-register. So KRA then gives you a second certificate that confirms for tax purposes, you're registered as a REIT. Sometimes you have a lapse between the time you get the certification, the authorization certificate from CMA, and the time you get the certification from KRA. Now, it's not too big a problem because KRA understands there's a gap in time. And what they do is that when they give you the certificate, the benefits will backdate to when you actually got the CMA one. So those are a few of the challenges we have, but we are working with the association and with, as I said, CMA has been very, very helpful, attentive, and they listen. You will have seen that the CMA recently published some amendments to the REITs association, I mean the REITs regulations. The key thing that they did was to try and demystify REITs by making them accessible to retail investors. Previously, a professional investor was classed as someone who could afford to invest up to a minimum of 5 million. So you can imagine retail investors would have been cut out of that. What the CMA has done with this amendment is they have reduced this to 100,000. So anyone who has 100,000, you will qualify for purposes of REITs regulations as a professional investor. So there's a lot of...
There's a lot.
Yes, the good things that we're doing, and I know going forward, we are likely to see a lot more amendments in the regulation.
All right. I want to now delve into the association itself, and And I love the fact that you've just mentioned a few of the things that you've been doing, meeting stakeholders and all that. Just wanted to understand, as an association, what are you aiming at really coming together?
Okay.
Are we going to see, some better things ahead and so forth? Please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. We are. So the REITs Association of Kenya, as I said, is an association that brings together the various stakeholders in the REIT sector.
Okay.
So we have legal advisors such as myself and the firm that I represent, OK Law.
Yeah.
We have tax advisors. We have, the trustees. We have the REIT promoters themselves. And all these people come together, and the association, the exchange, all these will come together to try and magnify the benefits of the REIT sector and also to solve some of the challenges that we have. Our main focus areas are, one, research. So we have MOUs with a number of leading universities in Kenya, including Strathmore and the University of Nairobi. We have associations, MOUs with the global REIT associations such as REIT, which is the US equivalent of RAC. We have one with the Moroccan REIT Association as well. So that's on the research aspect. Then we have the training. As I said, we go out and we have MOUs, for example, also with the exchange, where we come and we speak about the things that we see the association needs. But more importantly, now for our core users, which is either the participants in the REIT sector, we do a lot of lobbying.
Okay.
And if I can just plug in 3 key things that the association managed to do through lobbying recently, it is, one, previously you could not, there was a limit on how much you can invest in REITs in the pension industry. So the association successfully lobbied for this ceiling to be raised to 30%.
Okay.
We also lobbied successfully for the VAT exemptions to be reinstated for REITs. Okay. And one that I think touches every single REIT in the market, we also lobbied very successfully for the inclusion of REIT investee companies as REITs for purposes of tax regulations. Okay. So that if your REIT then invests through an investee company, that investee company of the REIT should get the same benefits as the REIT itself.
Wow, excellent. As we come to almost a close of the conversation, you have put together another conference this year.
Yes.
And and you're the chair. Yes. So it would be nice to hear from your end. What should the people who are going to sign up and people who are probably even hoping to sign up really look up to?
Okay.
Yeah.
So this year, end of the month, that is 30th of October to the 1st of November, the REITs Association will be holding its annual conference in Enashipai Resort in Naivasha. This year, the conference, so the theme of the conference is really, we're looking at unlocking new frontiers. So expanding the REIT market in Africa. We want to focus, building on the conference last year, we want to focus on looking at what the REIT sector in Africa looks like now. As I mentioned, for example, you have South Africa that was the market leader. We have a few more markets like Zimbabwe and Zambia that are also bringing REITs. So we're bringing speakers, international speakers from the mature REIT markets, the US, the EU. We have speakers international speakers from South Africa. We have speakers from the exchanges in East Africa and also from the associations around. So we'll have speakers from Rwanda, Tanzania, Ethiopia. It really is an Africa-centric conference, and we'll not just be looking at the REIT market, but also the real estate market in general and how the REIT sector can benefit, the real estate sector can benefit by specializing in REITs. Okay. It's a 3-day conference where we encourage as many people as are interested in this segment to come, meet all the stakeholders, meet the experts, meet the developers who are actually putting up the properties, meet the investors who want to acquire REIT units, and the advisors that help you put it together.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. And we look forward to the amazing conversations that will be there.
Yes.
That's me believing that I'll be there.
So, you're welcome.
Now, moving forward, let's talk about some of the key things that have had you converse, especially in your circles. We've talked about the toolkit. We've talked about incubator programs and how you're really helping out, really have a lot of people who are interested in the market, the REITs market, come up. Could you expand a bit on what you're doing for the people?
Okay. Yes. So the first thing, as I said, you have CMA that has now reduced the eligibility criteria for professional investors. So what RAC has done is we've come up with a toolkit program where people who want to learn more about REITs, they want to know how to take it to market. So you could be either a company, an individual, you have a number of properties, but you don't know how do I get the properties that I have into a REIT structure. Before you even go and talk to the advisors, we have this platform where you can come and get access to information on the people involved in REITs. So who is a trustee, who is a REIT manager, who is a promoter? You have sample documentation. What does an information memorandum or a prospectus for REITs look like? You can find that on the platform.
Okay.
How do I get, what is my route to market? Who are the advisors who speak to whether it is tax, it is legal, it is the transaction itself. So this platform allows everyone to come in, and if you like, you can even launch, the REIT of it. One of the things we'll be doing at the annual conference on the last day, which is the 1st, is we will be launching the incubator program officially. So, you can look forward to some pizzazz when it comes to that.
That's a good one. Yeah. Now, as we come to now the real close, if I may say that, let's talk about what I want to put you on the spot on, a comparison. Okay. Because you sit at a place where you see in Africa, you see in the world as well, because some of the examples you've mentioned is what they're doing in the US, people investing in petrol stations and the like as a category. When you look at us, where would you place us in terms of, let's call it a 1 to 10. Where have we touched? Have we arrived to 5 yet, or there's still more to be done to explore this? Yes.
That's a good question. I'll tell you. So I have, as you said, so at Triple OK Law, we have advised 3/4 of the REITs in the market. So I have seen the REITs right from inception, and this includes structuring, some restructuring, others, whether it's lending, borrowing. So I've seen we've seen the scope of REITs, how they operate from start to finish. And with the association, we then get access to all the other players who want to come to market. I would say that we do have a lot of potential, but this is a market that when you look at objectively is doing very well in terms of REITs. With the growth that we have had over the past, I don't see any other market that has grown as fast as we have in Africa. I look forward to the time when we will at least be equal or supersede the South African market. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and we want to get there and beyond, which is why we're working a lot with the associations in South Africa, in the US. So I would, if I had to score where we are as a market, I'd say 6.5.
Oh, 6.5?
6.5.
That's a good score, though.
Thank you. Yes.
That's a good score.
Thank you very much.
You must agree, though, that the cost of affording a house in this country is always a challenge. I mean, we've seen the government trying left, right, and center to put affordable housing in place, all that. I don't know what you would tell someone who's watching and saying, okay, I've had, they could invest, I could do that, I could go to a broker and all that. What would be a last word to them, especially in owning, that you don't really have to own, you can own a part of all this around. What would be your message to an investor?
Okay. So first, I will acknowledge that the government is trying to tap to fill this housing problem by tapping into REITs. So as we speak, there's a drive by government to try and put up a REIT specifically for affordable houses. So that's on the one hand. Then on the other hand, on your question on what I would say to an investor, see, with REITs, you don't have to acquire the whole building. REITs allow you to own a piece. It's like fractional ownership. You can say, I have bought units in a REIT that owns this mall. So therefore, I am, quote unquote, a co-owner of a mall. You don't have to wait until you have the money to actually go and buy a mall or go and buy a house. You can buy units in a REIT, and that allows you, it doesn't give you legal ownership, but it does give you a portion of ownership, and you get to get the benefits of whether it is rent, whether it is, so whatever income that asset gets, you then get a percentage of that. So I think we will slowly move away from having to see your name on the title deed or being able to say, this is my
piece.
But you can own a smaller piece of a much bigger housing unit. So how many people can say that they own a piece of student houses, they own a piece of these malls, they own a piece of all these apartments? Through a REIT. You just buy one REIT, that REIT has invested in across different aspects of the real estate. You then become a co-owner.
Absolutely.
So that's where I think we should be going.
So for you, Brian, do you Are you for building or buying?
Building or buying for myself?
Yes, for yourself.
Building.
Building.
Yes.
Okay.
Building. You build and you buy.
Yes.
Because you build some of the REITs, you build through a D-REIT, and then you sell it off to other individuals.
Build and buy.
Build and then sell off.
And then sell.
Correct.
Thank you so much for your time, Brian.
Thank you as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
There you have it. The conference chair has spoken, Brian Mwindi, who is an advocate as well and a partner at Triple OK Law. And I hope you have been convinced enough why you need to be part of the ecosystem, part of the conversation. So get registered in. I think you visit your website, absolutely. Is it the website?
It's rak.co.ke.
Yes.
So rac.co.ke. All the information is there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There you have it. Go there, register, so we can have these conversations and grow. Are you going to build or buy? All the best. Thank you so much. I leave you now with the markets.